Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Full Potential Show. I'm James Rick, and this is your number one non-boring source for personal development. And today on the line, we have Alan Seale. He's the founder of the Center for Transformational Presence and the author of Create a World That Works. The theme for today's show is giving you tools for personal and global transformation. The website is transformationalpresence.org, and if you hang on to the end of the interview, we'll tell you how to get a free ebook on the soul and ego, the fundamental partnership. Alan, so nice to have you on the show today.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you on, and I'm excited to talk about something that's very near and dear to me, which is contemplating this soul and ego partnership and how can we really transform our lives and transform the world. So let's dive in. What is the book about, and what inspired you to really write it?
What inspired me to write it was hearing so many thought leaders talk about all the things that we needed to do in the world to create a world that works, in effect, and listening to all those things and saying, yeah, absolutely, we need to do those things, and realizing that we're not going to do any of those things until something shifts inside of us. That we have to shift how we think, we have to shift how we show up in the world. The theme of this book is Transformational Presence, and it's really all about how are you showing up, and how do you show up in such a way that begins to call forth transformation in the circumstances and situations around you.
So what I hear you saying is that we can talk all we want about the world change that we want to see, but it goes back to what Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world, and we have to start with ourselves.
Absolutely. And when we take that phrase, which, is so overused at this point, it almost it becomes a little
cliche in a way.
Yeah, it's become kind of cliche. But if we really look at what those words mean, be the change you wish to see in the world, when we come to that from an energy standpoint, it means vibrate to the frequency that you want to see in the world. And so that's a whole other thing when we start to realize it's all about the presence. How are we showing up? What is the energy that we're bringing to the moment? Not just what are you doing.
Yeah. And as a Western culture, we focused a lot on our actions, our behavior, our results. And you're saying that it all starts with being. Be the change first. Be that vibrational frequency, and then start doing from that place. So let's talk about that a little bit. What does it mean to be at that frequency? I mean, how do you actually get there? How do you be at that level?
When you start to pay attention to a potential that's emerging, whether it's in your personal life or in the world that you're wanting to really partner with, to be a steward for that, bringing that potential in, then it's first tapping into what is the energy of that potential, and what is that? How does that potential want to unfold? What is the energy of that? How do I become that energy myself? So the first question might be, who is the person who would manifest this? Who is the person that would support this movement? What are the qualities and characteristics? I must embody that energy now. We do a lot of work with standing in the future, remembering the future, and letting the future show you the way here. So as we stand in the future of that the potential's already fully manifested now, step into that energy. You'll feel a shift in your body. When you feel that shift in your body, to say, now that's the energy I have to live in all the time.
I love it. And as I'm like doing this, like mentally with you, I'm feeling it, like the pull of why I do Full Potential and where I see it going when I actually stand in that future, like when it's actually fully realized, I feel like an energy charge. Like that's who I need to be even greater.
Absolutely.
So it not only gives you the vision, but I think it gives you the emotional feeling of what it's like to be the person that accomplished that.
And the emotional feeling is a huge key for it, because we think that we do things because of who we're going to get to be with, or the things we're going to get to do, or the things we're going to have. But the truth is, we do things because of how we're going to feel.
Yeah, and also we're subconsciously driven by that. No matter how logical we are about what we want and how we justify what we do, in the end, we can talk, and we'll understand it on a logical level. But emotion is what moves us to even realize that potential.
And when you're hooking into an emotion that is connecting you to a bigger picture, one of the really important pieces of the work around Create a World That Works is it's not about what do I want. It's the bigger question, what wants to happen? So that we're moving beyond the personal things of I want this and this and this to say There's something that's wanting to unfold here for us as an organization, as a business, as a family, as a community, as a world, whatever level you're working on, because I'm working with people at all those different levels, and to say what wants to happen here and what is my role in that.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was reading through some of the bullet points from your book. It's a very subtle statement, but it's definitely a shift in energy when you say, instead of what do I want to happen, when you move it outside yourself and you say what wants to happen here, you become a facilitator of that energy, as opposed to somebody who's like taking control of that creation. Like, it's all you. What wants to happen here, and how can I facilitate that?
Absolutely. And when you're paying attention in that way, the potential will show you the way. The energy will lead you. So when you completely align yourself with that energy and then just start following it, it will show you the next step and the step after that and the step after that.
Okay, cool. I love the concept, and really it's about embracing that vision and stepping into, like you said, the future. So that would be like step number one. What wants to happen here, and what kind of person would I need to be? What level of energy would I need to be vibrating at in order to be the person that realizes this purpose or this mission, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So we have that clarity of what we're trying to realize and what we're trying to help realize and who we need to be. And where do we go from there? Like, now we're excited. We see it more clearly. We see the shifts that happen in us emotionally. And then where do we go from there?
So from there, there's a process or a model that I created I call it the potential-based approach, where we are focusing on creating the new reality, bringing this potential to life, rather than being in a place of trying to solve a problem. So once as you've said, once you're clear about what that is and you're really embodying that potential, then the next step is to say, so what is the breakthrough that needs to happen inside of me, and the breakthrough in this circumstance, in order to take us to the next place? From that breakthrough, then our question is, then what is the commitment I must make here? And we talk about once and for all commitments. I don't know if you picked up on that in the book, but that's a really actually pretty important piece here, that when we think on one level of once and for all, is that it's just, I've made the commitment, I don't have to make it again, it's done, it's set, and I'm moving on to the next place. But it's also once and for all. That when we look at this quantum world that we're living in and recognize that everything is connected in the greater consciousness, and that we are constantly creating the mass consciousness of the present and the future, then when you make that commitment, you have just opened the door for everyone else in the world who's in a similar place to also be able to make that kind of commitment. It's like you just make the path a little bit wider, or the door is a little more, it's a little easier to walk through for the next person. So we're really shifting consciousness, not just working on this one little project here. Yeah,
this is very very relevant to what we're doing here with Full Potential as well. It's about, and it's funny, the potential-based approach. I mean, we're so, it's like, we are all, when we tune into our higher purpose, we're all trying to accomplish something that is very much similar, because that's what the world needs. What needs to happen here? We're all kind of working on different pieces of the puzzle at different angles.
Right.
And we're on the team. Like, that's what I'm realizing more and more as I do these interviews and I recognize all these light workers out there. Everybody's working on, a different angle, opening a different door to the same room, basically.
Yes.
And so when you're making a commitment, you're, like you said, you're opening a door for somebody to come in that way, and I'm opening a door over here, and now today where maybe our doors have come together, and so what we want on a soul level is definitely something that I think we all want on some level, and we don't even know it, and that's what we're all moving towards. Everybody wants to be happy. So when we talk about creating a potential-based approach and asking what breakthrough needs to happen, that's happening on an individual level, right?
It could be on an individual level or on a societal level or a global level.
Okay, so you're saying what breakthrough needs to happen, and you're saying that somebody, once they recognize who they need to be to show up and let it unfold, that breakthrough is happening now, not only for themselves, or maybe it's already happened for them. Maybe they've already had that shift, and now they're going to figure out what needs to happen in the world to make the shift happen. Yeah, you're really bringing a great point here, because there are like many levels
of that commitment and the breakthrough. Because there is, what's the breakthrough that has to happen in the mass consciousness? What's the breakthrough that has to happen in this organization? What's the breakthrough that has to happen in the leadership? What's the breakthrough that has to happen in me in order to be able to take my steps here? So there are all those levels going on. And each one begins to impact the next. Really, when we start inside of ourselves, what needs to happen here inside of me? And then how do I take my next step that begins to shift the energy in a larger way?
Okay, so, and maybe that's a good rule of thumb. Start with your personal breakthrough that needs to lead to the higher and higher levels of the breakthroughs that are going to cause that chain reaction to the realization of what's trying to happen here. Well, now it's happening because all these breakthroughs happen.
You know, the bottom line is you can't ask anybody else to do something you're not willing to do. You can't ask anyone else to make a breakthrough that you aren't willing to walk through yourself.
Yeah, and unless you've had that breakthrough shift, maybe they're not even going to be drawn to what you're trying to create. You have to have that breakthrough internally, because I think a lot of what we're talking about here and what moves people and what moves you is that emotional connection, that higher vibrational frequency. And unless you actually have that, unless you're actually breaking through to levels where you can maintain that, it's going to be very difficult to galvanize other people and get them to be attracted to your doorway.
Everything you're talking about now it just comes back to presence. How are you showing up? How are you completely congruent within yourself? That you're showing up in your authentic power. You're showing up in your authentic self. We talk in the book about close the gap between what you know and how you live. You know, we know a lot, but do we live what we know? If you're truly going to make a difference in this world, you got to live what you know. There can't be a gap in there for you.
I want to talk about this idea of presence and how it's such a powerful concept, because, you know, it's very timely where I am in my life and some of the breakthroughs I've had recently around time. I used to be very forcefully driven to be as productive as humanly possible, to make the most of every hour of every minute. And it got to a point where I drove myself so hard I had like my first serious migraine headache. And then I opened up and in that process discovered that it's not about what I'm driving towards. It's not about forcing myself within that time. It's really about the energy that I bring to what I'm doing. And this is where the power of presence really showed up for me. And I want to really drive home this concept for people that are watching and listening right now, because once you get it, once you really get it, it's like not only does your life transform, but you start to transform the lives around you on a deeper level when you start showing up.
Absolutely.
That power's always there, isn't it?
Always. It's always available to you. It's your choice whether or not you step into it.
Well, and by stepping into it, it's just that everybody has this power, but they're just not present to it. It's actually that I used to think that, you know, when I heard the power of now and stuff, I used to think, you know, okay, yeah, I mean, that's a great book title. But actually, that's where all the power is. It's always in the now, and it's always available to us the moment we're present to it. And once we're present to it, it's kind of like we're riding on that wave. And when you're riding on that wave and other people are in their head thinking about the past or thinking about the future or thinking about all kinds of things but being anywhere but present, it's like they suddenly catch that wave with us when we're in the present and we're there. And we bring them
there's
there.
Another. What's important though is to also make a distinction between being present in the moment and the presence you are bringing to that moment, and that's something we're not talking enough about. We hear lots of teachers talking about be here now. You know, back to Ram Dass years and years ago from his famous first book, and then certainly the power of now with Eckhart Tolle and so forth. But what we're not hearing the talk enough about, to me, is how are you showing up in this moment? Who are you when you come into this moment?
That's a great distinction.
What are you bringing to this moment?
Yeah.
That's a very important distinction. It's not enough just to be here now. It's who are you here now?
Yeah. And how can we distill this into some action items that somebody could take away from this? Because, I mean, what we're talking about is being present and showing up as this higher vibrating being. I want to give people some concrete actions that they can take away from this. And they're like, well, you know, it sounds great. I want to show up powerful and I want to be present. but I get all these things going on in my life, and I have all these things I have to do, and I have all this past programming going on. Maybe I haven't had my breakthroughs yet that are going to allow me to see the power in this or to do it. What are some specific action items that you might suggest to somebody who's at the start of this journey and they want to start vibrating at a higher level and they want to start showing up powerfully?
Yeah. The book Create a World That Works is full of very practical things, because to me, if we don't have the practical application, what's the point? We're just talking about ideas, and we can't afford the talk anymore. We have to move it into how we live. And so let's talk about the very first tool in the book, which is called 4 Levels of Engagement. And just due to time here, we can't talk through all that in a thorough way, but basically we engage with life on one of 4 levels, either in the drama, where he said this and she said that and he threw this and she screamed, and then, you know, and oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me.
Yeah.
So there's the drama, and the question is, whose fault is this? The next level is the situation. Here are the facts, here's what's going on, how do we fix it? The third level is choice. Everything begins to shift there. It's not what are my choices of how to fix it, but rather who do I choose to be here in this situation? Which then opens the door to the 4th level, opportunity. What's the gift? What's trying to happen right now? There's some potential wanting to emerge. The bigger the drama, the bigger the thing is that's trying to shift here, the bigger the message there is for you here. And so the first step for people to make this shift is to pay attention to which of those 4 levels are you living on. Are you in the drama, or where you're asking whose fault is this and you're just a victim? Or are you in the situation where you're just trying to fix it? Or are you in the choice of saying, wow, I may not be able to change what's going on right now, but I can choose who I will be in relationship to what's going on. And as soon as I do that, I've taken the power back, which then opens the door to saying, what's the opportunity here? What wants to happen? What's the gift here? The first step in shifting this awareness and living in a way that we can create a world that works is asking or paying attention to where am I living, and committing to live in choice and opportunity all the time.
That's great. And just to reiterate those different levels that you can live at. One is the drama. Oh my gosh, it's happening to me. You're more of in a reactive state.
Totally reactive.
The second is being a little more objective, saying, here's the situation, here's the facts, how do we deal with it? The third now is, who do I choose to be in showing up to this situation?
That's right. That's where the energy shifts.
That's the energy shift. So it's not just factual, here's the circumstance. It is, who am I in response to this situation? And so you bring a whole new energy resonance.
What has been my role in creating it? And what do I choose as my role going forward? So there's a big responsibility piece that comes in here as well.
Interesting. Yeah. So now you're not just assessing the situation, you're really getting to know who you are in response to the situation. So a lot of soul searching and discovery going on there, and then a personal shift on a spiritual level. And then the final piece is, now that I have this higher level view and I'm showing up as this higher vibrational being, what is the opportunity here? What is trying to unfold? I just wasn't seeing it because I was so zoomed in and kind of in a fog.
So caught in the drama. I was so busy being in reaction. And I was so busy being a victim or giving all the power away outside of me. Now that I've taken the power back, in a sense, at the choice level, then it's a whole different ballgame. From here, once I see what the opportunity is, I can then come back to choice and say, so now who do I choose to be? Now that I see what wants to happen. And then I come back to the situation, and it looks very different than it did at the beginning.
And obviously the situations and the drama changes significantly over time the more you do this. So
absolutely,
if you're in a serious drama right now, it's probably because of who you were in showing up to the situation up to this point.
That's
and when
right.
you start shifting that, your whole situation and your whole drama changes.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, you've intrigued us enough, Alan. Where do they get a copy of the book?
Well, you can get the book anywhere. It's on Amazon. It's in bookstores everywhere. Certainly on my website, transformationalpresence.org as well.
Okay, transformationalpresence.org. We'll put it up on the video. And to spell it, it's transformational, TRANFORMATIONAL.
But you left out an S. TRANS. Transformational.
Boy, that really helped. We'll put it up on the screen. Transformational. I had it written wrong. Transformationalpresence.org. And we're going to talk just briefly about the free book and where they can get it. The ebook is Soul and Ego. soul and ego, the fundamental partnership. And I want to talk briefly about that. Why do you call it the fundamental partnership, Alan?
You know, it's really the first co-creative relationship that we have is these two parts of ourselves. And in essence, both are essential to our well-being. The soul has the big picture view, ego knows how to get things done. We also cannot exist in a physical domain without the ego. There are so many spiritual teachings that talk about getting rid of the ego and make the ego bad. To me, anytime we are making a part of ourselves bad, how can that serve us? The ego just wants to grow up. We have to help it mature and grow into its mature power. And so there's a whole process we can go through for that, and recognizing that when the ego is screaming and yelling or becoming arrogant or trying to take control, it's just because it has a message for us. It has something it needs for us to hear. It's afraid. It's trying to make sure that we survive, because that's its primary job, is to ensure our survival. And so when we can recognize this and listen to ego and say, listen, tell me what you need, then the ego can grow up and become the mature servant of the soul. Soul must be the captain of the ship. We get into big trouble if ego is the captain, not because ego is bad, but just because ego has very limited awareness. The soul has the big picture awareness.
You're scaring me with the metaphors you're using. That's exactly what I say in the Full Potential book is, who's captain of the ship. And what you're saying too is that there's this overlap of the ego serving the soul. We're not trying to kill it, because then we kill the servant and then the soul can't do its job in the physical realm.
Right.
The ego is the master of the physical domain, but it is the servant of the soul who is trying to operate as effectively as possible in the physical domain. This is a major distinction for everybody who's watching and listening right now. I mean, what Alan is saying is that you absolutely need your ego, but it needs to grow up. And that's right. The ego loves the drama, right? I mean, it lives in the domain of the drama. But as you start to zoom out and assess the situation, especially assess who you're going to be as you enter the situation, you've changed the dynamics of the ego plane.
And, actually, I don't think that the ego does love the drama. It's just the only way it has known to survive.
That's a great point.
I don't think it loves it at all.
It suffers through the drama as a result of its immaturity.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, well, I highly suggest that you take advantage of getting this free ebook. It's The Soul and Ego, the Fundamental Partnership. Alan, where can they go to get a copy of that?
Go to my website, transformationalpresence.org, and when you sign up for the newsletter, you get that as a free gift. So there are also lots of other free resources there on the website. It's a huge website, and there's so many things there. So go check it out.
All right, go to transformationalpresence.org. That's with an S. The free book is called Soul and Ego, the Fundamental Partnership. You'll get that when you sign up for the newsletter. And the book is called Create a World That Works, Tools for Personal and Global Transformation. Alan, thank you for contributing to our personal transformation, which in turn will aid the global transformation here on the Full Potential Show. Thank you so much for being on, Alan.
Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Great having you on. Take care, buddy. All right, and everybody who's watching and listening right now, be sure and check out the book, transformationalpresence.org, and be sure to like and subscribe the Full Potential Show so you can get more great insights from people like Alan and freebies that you'll only find right here on the Full Potential Show. Have a great afternoon there in Boston, Alan.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Full Potential Show, your #1 non-boring source for personal development. I'm James Rick, and if you want to get more positive programming for your brain absolutely free on a weekly basis, just visit fullpotential.com.
If you like the Full Potential Show, you're going to love the Full Potential Club. What would you like most as a Full Potential Club member? Be 2 to 3 times more productive? Do what you're passionate about? Have more energy? Reduce your work hours? Travel the world? Enjoy an amazing lifestyle on a frugal budget? What if you could do them all? James Rick has been there and done it in ways that few people have. For anyone serious about taking their life or business to the next level, you know you've got to do more than just watch. You've got to do. Join James Rick and other like-minded people for an incredible $10 a month at fullpotential.com/club. Be educated. Be empowered. Be the best version of you. fullpotential.com/club. Try it free for 30 days.